Good evening, Marianne. I am Maria, and I would like to give you an oral analysis uh, of a text called The Telltale Heart, which is a short story written by Edgar Allan Poe, and it was published in 1843. First of all, I would like to make my first part of analysis, where I would like to talk about the setting. Then I would like to talk about the narrator in the story. And my last analysis point will be about the symbolism in the text. Then I would like to give you my interpretation of the text. And finally, I would like to reference the Telltale Heart to the main theme, serial killers. The story takes place in the old man's house, which is described with this sentence: "The room was black as pitch, with a thick darkness." And when Poe describes the setting with words such as black as pitch and thick darkness, he creates a gloomy and unpleasant atmosphere. There is no sunbeam breaking through the window, which also makes it seem a little hopeless. The short story is written in both the present and past tense. In the beginning, the narrator argues that he isn't mad, and then he starts to describe how and why he killed the old man. So actually, you could say the story is one big flashback, except the beginning, of course. And the effect from this long flashback is that it seems determined. The whole story seems determined. There is nothing you, as the reader, can do to change the fact that the old man is going to die, which actually makes it seem even more unpleasant. The narrator is a first-person narrator, and he constantly tries to convince the reader that he isn't mad by saying, "I'm not mad," which is being repeated several times throughout the story. But the fact that he's repeating it makes the reader believe that he actually is insane and mad. The fact that the narrator actually is insane and mad can be supported by a quote he says right after he has buried the old man's body. "A top had caught all, haha." This laughter makes the reader believe that the narrator really has lost his rational faculties. He's not able of feeling sympathy, and he has no moral compass. On occasion, he also pretends to be an omniscient narrator. He tells us how the old man feels and what the old man is thinking. An example could be this quote: "Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. I knew the sound well, many a night. It was welled up from my own bosom." Which also makes the narrator seems even more unreliable, because he's a first-person narrator, but he also tries to tell the reader how the old man feels. And also the fact that he states that he's not insane, that he's actually sane, but he seems insane, so he is not reliable, he's not trustworthy. The symbolism in the text, I think there's a lot of symbolism, but I would like to talk about 4 points. The first point would be that the narrator is not capable of seeing himself in the dark, which might symbolize that he's not in his senses. Just as we, as the reader, are unable to see the bedroom, the narrator is unable to see his own mind and understand what he has done. Furthermore, the dark room could symbolize the narrator's state of mind. There is something wrong, and the darkness, which often symbolizes evil, lives inside of him, and is all around him, and he is not able to escape it. He constantly lives in it. The heartbeat drives the story forward, I think you could say, because it increases during the story. In the beginning, where he hasn't killed the man but only decided to do so, the heartbeat isn't so loud. But when he killed the man and buried him, the heartbeat gets so loud that he decided to turn himself in front of the policeman and admit his crime. The heartbeat could symbolize the guilt, I think, the guilt that is catching up on him. He has done something wrong, and he is somehow aware of it, and he's not able to escape it. He just has to face it. And finally, I think an important symbol is the fact that he buries him underneath the floor, which can be placed in the context of Freud's psychoanalysis, which I would like to talk more about in the interpretation. The fact that the narrator buries the old man underneath the floor can be interpreted as a symbol of the id in Freud's psychoanalysis. According to this model of psyche, the id is the set of uncoordinated instinctual trends. The superego plays the critical and moralizing role, and the ego is the organized, realistic part that mediates between the desires of the id and the superego. The superego can't stop one from doing certain things that one's id may want to do. With it, Edgar Allan Poe questions the conscience of man. How far and for how long can you suppress something before it comes up? Before it comes up to surface, you can say, and reveals itself. The beating of the heart occurs within the narrator himself, I think. It is established at the beginning of the short story that he is oversensitive, that the narrator is oversensitive, that he can hear and feel things that others are not able to hear and feel. At the end of the story, if there really were a beating heart up under the floorboards, then the police would have heard it too. Clearly, the narrator, who has just finished the gruesome act of dismembering a corpse, cannot cope with the highly emotional challenge needed when the police are searching the house. These two factors cause his heart rate to accelerate to the point that his heartbeat is pounding in his ears so loudly that he cannot stand the psychological pressure any longer. Thus he confesses to his horrible deed. The narrator's telltale heart causes him to convict himself, I think you can say. And with that, I think Poe has given us one of the most powerful examples of the capacity of the human mind to deceive itself. Yes, and finally, I would like to reference this text to the main theme. A connection between this main theme, which is serial killers, and this text, The Telltale Heart, could be that Edgar Allan Poe tries to shed light on the mind of a serial killer. Paradoxically, I don't know how to pronounce it, paradoxically, by writing a short story that takes place in total darkness. By working with different serial killers in class, I learned that some of the serial killers actually turned themselves in. That can be related to when the narrator admits his crime, and the point with Freud's psychoanalysis is how long can you suppress something before it comes up to surface. Are humans capable of living with such reality, the fact that you killed a person? Are you able to live with that fact in your life, or will you turn yourself in, and will you admit it, and will it drive you insane? Yeah, finally, I think it discusses whether serial killers in fact are insane. We talked about how serial killers often are sociopaths or psychopaths. Um, it is up to the reader in this story and the reader's interpretation to tell whether the narrator is sane or insane, because neither are written directly. More specific, it can be seen in connection with Ted Bundy, I think, who also seems as a really humble and honest man at first, just like this narrator. But Ted Bundy also said in an interview that he is mad when he explained what he did and why he did it. So I think Edgar Allan Poe tries to shed light on the question: when are you insane? And do you have to be insane to kill somebody? Or can it just be some deep desire inside of you that you can't run from? Or that you are not capable of doing something against, that is just something that drives you and you have to do it. I think that is a clear connection between serial killers and this text by Edgar Allan Poe.